Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome. Greetings, fellow explorers of the imagination and of emotion, and welcome to another succinct and concise episode from the SHP project Video Vault. I'm talking into my microphone as I speak. And in this particular episode, very brief episode, you'll be pleased to know, I'm going to be discussing video games. Particularly how video games relate to our lives. So I've come up with this theory, probably borrowed from lots of people. I tend to do that sort of thing, but I don't think I do. I don't think I do, really. You know, art is weird, isn't it? Because lots of things are influenced by lots of things, and the boundaries sometimes cross. Anyway, I don't think anyone's thought about life as a video game before. And I'm not not just video games. Remember those fighting fantasy novels? Remember those choose your own adventure books? In my day, which was way, way back, I used to have the Indiana Jones ones. And I had Fighting Fantasy, which was written by Steve Jackson and Ian Livingstone, which I loved. And there were The Way of the Tiger, and Lone Wolf was another good one. I used to like Lone Wolf. And then they sort of became role-playing games, and then I had a one-player role-playing game called the Chainsaw Warrior. And I still have, my dear listener and viewer, I still have Blood Bowl, the original version, which with cardboard figures and all that sort of thing. Role-playing games were good. I also had the Judge Dredd one. And then, of course, we move on. Technology moves on. Life goes on, and we become video game experts. Now, my video games were things like Hungry Horace, and then, of course, the ocean games like Batman. And what are these? Head Over Heels was another one. I always had one called Movie. There's one called Movie, and I can't find it anywhere, referenced online anywhere. But I remember having it. I don't think it's part of my imagination. It was called Movie. And the Batman one was a 3D game, and you had to solve puzzles and all that sort of thing. Now, the point is this. It's about solving puzzles. It's about making decisions, and it's about moving on to the next level. Now, one of the big things that I have is one of the causes of my depression, my emotion, negative emotion, is the overwhelm of stuff. You know, when it's like you want to do something, but you think, oh, it's too hard, it's too difficult, I'm not clever enough. There's all this, you can fill your whole soul with all the reasons why you shouldn't do something. You could write a book about it. You know, it'll be bigger than the dictionary, with the amount of words that you could stick in it, and for reasons why you can't do something. And depression is like that. Depression is the liar that sits on your shoulder, telling you all the things that you can't do, telling you all the reasons why you shouldn't do it, and stopping you from actually doing anything. Yes, we call it fear too. Depression is born from all of that. And it's also, you know, when that happens, then the guilt starts to come in, the shame starts to come in, and then you start to feel guilty over the shame, and then you start to feel shameful over the guilt, and then you start to think you've upset other people because you're feeling guilty and shameful, so you feel guilt and shame for that, and then you go onto a spiral that is self-defeating, and it kind of makes you feel like crap. So that's you know, that's where the sort of self-harming started to come in for me. I guess one of the reasons anyway, it was the stress. It was the stress of not being good enough. But nobody was telling me I wasn't good enough. That's the interesting thing. I was hearing it, and I was seeing it, thinking it, but it wasn't from anybody else. Now I've stepped away from that. The hindsight is nobody was telling me that. I was interpreting it myself. My depression was reinterpreting things and creating a lie that wasn't real. The lies aren't real. That's basically it, isn't it? So a way around this, I've discovered, this is my foolproof plan, I'll tell you if it works, is think of yourself as a video game. So you're the character in a video game, right? And you don't go you don't play Renegade and you're walking through the subway and then suddenly you meet Mr. Big. It doesn't work like that. You have to go through certain stages. You have to go through levels. In the fighting fantasy books, you don't just sort of power yourself up with it. You think, I'm going to buy that sword, and then suddenly you're fit enough to kill the dragon. It doesn't work like that. You have to build up power points. You have to go through stages. You have to build up stamina and skill, and you have to learn stuff. You go through stages, and it's the same with anything in your life that you want to achieve. You go through stages. So if you think about it like this, if you think that you know each stage you have to learn one thing, and once you've learned it, you've completed that level. You've completed that level, you move on to the next. Now, one thing we're also guilty of when we are people with this sort of hypersensitivity, with depression, with anxiety, with mental health issues, we're also guilty of dwelling on the past and thinking, well, that went well then. We overanalyze it, realize all the things we did wrong, and take the things we did wrong forward with us, not the things that we did well forward with us. And then we start to overanalyze the things that we did wrong, thinking we've got to do those things. But in a video game, if you get something wrong, but you still get through, you get through. You don't go back and think, well, I think you'll find, Mr. Computer Programmer, that I didn't quite complete that level. I'd like to go back and finish it. No. You don't do that. You just think, whoa, lucked out. I'm going to move on to the next one, and I still have all the bullion and all the gold and all the things and all the weapons that I need to get to the next level. That's life, isn't it? That's life. You don't play Lara Croft and think, well, I've got to go back and just swim through that tunnel I didn't go through, because there's nothing there. It doesn't matter. There are dead ends in games and in life. There are tricks, there are things, and there are cheats that you can do in order to get to where you want to go. Now, it might mean that there's another lesson you have to learn somewhere along the line, and you have to learn it doubly. It doesn't really matter, does it? You just got to do it, right? You just got to do it. That is the truth. Life is a video game. Everyone must play alone. I hear you call my name, and it feels like... Does that work? Anyway, we're back. That was somebody singing. I don't know who that was. Please forgive that person, because I know they look like me. What are you trying to say? I know they're wearing the same top. What are you trying to say? Listen, this is a very important message. This is Marcus Aurelius, and he said this in his book, The Meditations. Think of life you have lived until now as over and as a dead man. See what's left as a bonus and live it according to nature. Love the hand that fate deals you and play it as your own, for what could be more fitting? Now, that is an important lesson from the Stoics about not looking back and overanalyzing stuff. Continue to move forward. You're in the present. When you're playing a video game, you don't worry about what's happened before. You just remain in the present. And then your goal is to move on to the next level. And that's where we are in life. That's where we should be in life. It should be about learning, adapting, changing, growing, and keep moving forward. That's the beauty of our life. Now, yes, we have this wonderful brain that gives us this huge TARDIS-like, bigger on the inside and on the outside thing of constantly overthinking stuff. And that's great. But don't let the overthinking become a weapon against you. You can overthink and use your imagination to become something that can help you to grow. That is what this brief massage is all about. Follow the cheats if you want to, but keep moving forward. Life is a video game, or any other game you might choose. You might not like video games, could be a board game. Of course, Monopoly is a lesson on capitalism and greed. But also, it's a good way of learning how to do investing. I just made that up. Might be true. Who knows? Listen, please, Look after yourself. You are the only one. There's only one of you. Remember that. And just consider this video game thing. Don't be stressed by the big picture. Just take one step at a time. That's all it needs. One step. And you'll keep growing, getting from level to level to level. And before you know it, you're facing off with Mr. Big, and you have all the skill set that you need to win. That's me clocking off for now. A bientôt.